that need to come back. Because you can't be complaining about how this generation is, and this generation is this generation, but then we're not doing what our elders was doing. So we're the elders now, and we're not taking the position of elders, but we sitting back complaining about what the next generation is or is not doing. You know what I mean?
Hey, 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 you're now tuned in to Underdog Talk. I'm your host, Eric Jones Jr., the underdog with the heroic heart, and I have conversations with successful people, successful underdogs. And today I have Miss India Johnson Washington. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I like your shirt. I just
Thank
noticed
you.
that. I'm glad it's finally summer and it's actually, I can got my knees out. I don't got my hoochie dirty yet, so I got my knees out. Um, uh, let's see. How how's your week been?
My week has been fruitful. My week has been, yeah, it has been fruitful.
Yeah, I
I'm
seen you went
grateful.
to the concert. How was that?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I acted a plum fool at that concert. I'm just grateful I was able to be there. Tamala Mann carried me through the most difficult year of my life. I would play Change Me every single morning. In the morning, I had a student with me and she was going through it. And I was like the last hope that she had at the time. And I would pick her up from school and we would listen to that song. As soon as she got in the car, we would play that song because she needed it and I needed it. So when she sang that, I mean, it was just the whole thing. Like Tasha Cobb's "I'm Getting Ready," that's another one that got me through. So like it was just everything I needed. I had a full on spiritual experience. I acted a fool. I set that whole national center off about 3 4 times, and I ain't mad about
Hey, I
it.
understand. I definitely changed me by Tamala Man and then Take Me to the King. No, wait, no, it's not that. Take Me to the King. It's God Provides. When I tell you I would play that song because I was going through some of the hardest times and God would provide, I'm like, okay, I didn't know how I was gonna make it, how this bill was gonna get paid. It was almost time to go, and God came and so yeah, I definitely love that album. So you do a lot of different things.
I do.
You're a jack of all trades. But one thing I did notice that you're a self-actualization coach. What is that?
Who it's just all about. So self actualization is now some people, if you're an educator, if you're in the education world, you are familiar with the triangle, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't want to get too brainiac. I'm a nerd. Yeah. I don't want to get too much of a brainiac on your audience. But with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it starts at the bottom with basic needs, like safety at the bottom, and then it goes up to having your basic needs met, then love and relationships, self-esteem, and then self-actualization. And the theory is that you have to have all those fundamental needs in place in order to be a self-actualized person. A self-actualized person knows exactly who you are, why you were created, and you have a clear vision for your life, and you really are unstoppable when it comes to any kind of obstacles and hard times. A self-actualized person understands that hard times are supposed to happen. You know this as an underdog. You know if you were not born exactly in the manner in which you were born, you would not have the strength that you have. Now, there are people who feel victimized by their life and their circumstances, and they do not allow themselves, because they've not even gotten to that self-love, to be an actualized person and say, I have purpose. Every moment that I have lived, I live with purpose. Like there's a reason it all happened. None of this happened to me. It all happened for me. Some of it just happened around me, if you want to be honest. But that's what being self-actualized means. I believe that we are all born self-actualized, and I believe there are events and there's communication, there's programming that happens in this world, because we are not of this world. We're just in it. And there's programming that happens in this world that deceives us into believing that we are not enough and we need to be something else. So next thing you know, it strips us of our self-love. It strips us of our capacity to be in healthy relationships. It strips us of our capacity to meet our own basic needs. And then it strips us of our capacity to feel safe. So then we spend the rest of our life trying to get those bottom tiers back. But I just say, look, forget all that. Forget all of that. Just know who you are and understand your birthright. I like to bring people back to their birthright. And I'm not about to coach you through how to get your basic needs met, because we just talked about it. God provides. So your basic needs are going to be met. You know, Naomi Rain, because she was at the concert too. She sings with Maverick City Music. If God dresses the lily with beauty and splendor, how much more will He clothe me? You know, like God is doing all of this for the birds. If He watches the sparrow, then I know He's watching me. So why I look like complaining, worrying about some bills or worrying about how I'm gonna eat? God is going to provide. These squirrels, the only time a squirrel dies is when they get hit by our stupid selves and get ran over. God taking care of the squirrels. I know God gonna take care of me. So I'm not about to coach you through how to get your bills paid. I'm gonna coach you to trust God. I'm gonna coach you to know that who you are. You just and walk in that, and everything around you is just going to work out. I promise it. I quit my job 8 months ago. $10,000 a month. Walked out one day and just never walked back in. And have not had a steady income since. And God been providing every single day. God been, so I'm a living witness that that's the way to do it.
Mm. I love that. And like you said, like, I don't know if I would be as strong as I am if I wasn't born the way I was. Or if sometimes people look at me or someone else and be like, "Oh, that's just easy for you." No, it's hard as all get up. It's not easy. I just make it look easy.
That's favorite.
Because, like you said, if God provides for the squirrel, He gonna provide for us, and that's kind of how I've got to, like, things gonna happen. Mm-hmm. Like, it sucks that these things happen, whatever it is. Because, like, recently, like, my school was like, "Yeah, we don't want you back." Mm-hmm. So my phone gone. I had a work phone. They got that computer gone. Everything that I had normal is gone, just like that. And it's like I had a day where I was like, man, I was down, and then things just start happening because I knew it was gonna happen. It's like people at the job was like, oh, what you gonna do? I don't know exactly, but I know something's gonna happen. I know I got enough value to add to the world where God gonna say, okay, you can do this. And it's like you really just gotta listen. Like, well, I ain't trying to go to church, but you just gotta listen. When you like, I was I think I was listening to ET sermon, or I was listening to something. It's like when God say something, go do it.
Yeah.
Like we always ask, hey God, can you help me with this? Okay, I need you to go here. But we don't go there, and then we wonder why it took us 5 years instead of taking us 6 months.
Amen.
And
that's it.
Like you just said, you stopped working, but you didn't say, oh well, the income ain't gonna come. I don't know how I'm gonna pay my bill. God provides because you gotta stick with Him. You gotta have that relationship. So, were you always like this? Because I've seen your page, and you definitely, I don't know, uh, a godly woman. I say that. I don't want to say the wrong term. You're a godly woman. So, what was life like before you got to this point? What were you doing? Like, what was going on?
What wasn't I doing? Like, what wasn't I doing last year? I mean, I was in the club last year. I had a wife 3 years ago. Like, there's people who don't understand who I am right now as this woman with this husband and this kid. This time last year, I had none of that. I had that job that was paying big money, and I still was feeling very empty. 2-3 years before that, I had a wife, and we had a 2-income household, and it was very peaceful. But I was feeling very unfulfilled, and I wanted a family, and that just what I had didn't feel like the family that I desired. Um, I I'll say this, and I don't like sob stories, and I try to be careful about how I tell my story because my story always involves other people.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for my parents because, like I was just telling my little sister, we choose our parents. I believe that you and I, and my baby right there, we're angels, and we chose this path, and we chose a very difficult path for a reason because there's people here on earth who do not believe that they can make it through, and they give in to the world, and they give in to hopelessness and victimization and shame and regret and guilt and all that, just give into it. And there are those of us that God sends to show people that no matter what you go through, this is all temporary. This experience that we have on earth is just a blip in the lifespan of our souls, and whatever it is that we can get through it, I promise. And so I know I chose my parents because there are kids there. I'm not more deserving of two college educated, got it fully together parents than anybody else in the world is. Everybody don't get that. Everybody doesn't get a healthy, loving household with two people who know how to love themselves, one another, and their children. And my parents are still on a journey of trying to figure out how to love themselves and one another. And tertiary is going to be loving your kids. Like, you got to love yourself first. And then you got to be able to love your partner. You got to love God first. Yeah. Then you got to love yourself. Then you got to love your partner. Then you figure out how to love some kids. So there are a lot of things that my parents left to be desired when it came to me knowing what love looked like. So I actually grew up very afraid of men, but I knew what God had for me. So I wanted to be, it's funny because I say it now, this is the life I'm living. But 2 years ago, I thought I was going to be the woman at the front of the church with this, fine black husband and praising God. And then that wasn't my journey. But then it ended up still being my journey. But between then and now, I had to work through a lot of fear around men. I had to work through a lot of feeling like I deserved a kind of love that I'd never actually seen before. And so I lived many ways that was beneath what I deserved, many ways that was beneath what God called me to be. Up until like 9 months ago, I was living ways that was beneath me, giving myself away, giving my energy away, giving my loyalty to people that it didn't deserve it. Just still wanting love from the world, knowing that I was not even created to be loved by the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and man, that's powerful because sometimes people they'll see you on social media and they'll be like, "Oh, you got it going on," and they don't know what you go through or what's behind the scenes to get to that point. And like you said, like sometimes we don't have that example. Like, so my biological father passed away when I was 4. My sister's dad's been my dad, but he's the old school dad. Go to work, that's it. Mm-hmm. And it's like I didn't have conversation. I couldn't go and talk to him, have conversations. Now we talk a little bit more, but with my son, it's like I talk to him. I don't go and it's not a whooping first. It's right. Like, what's wrong? What's going on? And when you don't have an example, you got to be the example. Mm-hmm. And it sucks because it takes longer. Like when it comes to hugging and loving on people, I ain't know about hugs and that and saying I love you and stuff like that. But then as you get older, you understand, okay, maybe how I was taught stuff, I need to unlearn it. Mm-hmm. So then that you can get to the point that you're at and understand that you deserve more. I think people don't realize you deserve more than what you got. Yeah. Like when you down and out, you deserve more. That's why when I look at jobs, I be looking at them like y'all crazy as all get up. Like, do you not know who I am? Right. And I don't say it in a cocky way. I say it in a way because I know who I really am. Absolutely. And what impact I can have. And it's like you gotta have that attitude because the world will make you feel like you ain't nothing. Yep. It like something you could. I was just did a video like one bad game could ruin your life. A viral video that went bad could ruin your life. Like Ja Morant, one bad video might have ruined his life. Yep. But he's still a human. He's still God gives us grace, so we got to give other people grace. So it's just you just gotta figure life out to where it works for you and not look at what people gotta say. Because no matter if you're a billionaire, if you got $0, they gonna say something about you. They gonna say something. Yeah. So I seen that you went on like a trip. Oh, what, the Thailand? Something like that? With the Buddhists. Oh, yeah. So, you don't gotta tell about the whole trip, but like what was different going there, and then like what are like one or two things that you learned that really helped change your life just from that different culture? Oh, that's a good question. So the school that I founded it was a study abroad school, so I would take kids from IPS to Thailand, and we would live there for 3 months. So we did that 2 years in a row, and so it was I had never been to Asia before taking these kids and teachers in Asia and becoming in charge of people over there. So I had to learn how to find my peace because I was forced to find my peace in Southeast Asia because the only people who were around me either worked for me or I was their principal or they had never seen anybody who looked like me before and didn't even know what to think about me. Pull on my hair, try to touch my skin. And so everything that I knew about who I was here in Indianapolis or in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, or in Bloomington, Indiana, which is really where my identities were planted, all of that was stripped away. And I was just a black girl in Southeast Asia. So I learned how to be confident and secure in who I am. I didn't even know that I was not until
being surrounded by, when it's different when you're around a bunch of people who don't speak your language, who don't eat your food, who ain't never seen nobody like you. If you're not Beyonce and you're a black woman, or Oprah and you're a black woman, who are you? Yeah. So that's what it was. I had to actually identify who I was, and I learned my second year. So my first year I was pretty spoiled, but my second year being there, I was in the community and had to do things on my own, and I wanted it that way for myself and for the students. And there was a moment where all I knew how to say in Thai was, "Do you have pineapple?" And I was like, "Some mango sticky rice." And I was pretty sure I was about to get trafficked because I was in the back of this tuk-tuk, and I had been taken somewhere. I didn't know where I was. I couldn't speak the language. The man couldn't speak my language. And he probably just in shock and awe because he got a black person in his little tuk-tuk in this small town. And so then he take me to his people. Like, he just wanted to show me off to his people. Then he got my phone. I'm trying to show him where I live. He got my phone and took my phone. And I was like, this is it. I'm about to get trafficked. Like, I'm never going to see these kids again. I'm never going to see my family again. And then from that, I said, you better learn Thai. And in a week, I could communicate in Thai. I could speak and understand Thai enough to tell these people where I lived in order to hear what they were saying. If they were saying, I knew how to hear for key words. I knew how to communicate enough with my taxi drivers to where they believed that I was fluent in Thai, so they wouldn't try no mess. So I realized how resilient and brilliant I am. Honestly, like, girl, you learn a whole new language. And it was in order to survive. But so I found my peace and I found my strength over there.
That's dope. That's because it's kind of almost like me when I go somewhere. Like, a lot of people don't know me. I always go by myself, and it's like it's a little different. I'm an introvert, and I'm like, okay, let me scan the room and see. But that's dope that you were able to learn the language in 1 week. But you had to.
I had to. Like, I was trying to.
Sometimes I don't think we realize stuff that we have to do, and we like have to do it. Sometimes it's like, oh, I gotta learn this language. Yeah, you gotta learn it, but you need to learn it quickly. It ain't where, oh, I got 6 weeks to learn it and then I'm gonna come. No, I need to learn this because if I don't, I might not make it out of here. And then I like where you said you had to learn your piece. It's kind of like you went over there as a mom to everybody, and it's like, okay, they pulling on you. You're the person that they go to, and it's like, hold on, I need a breather, and you had to figure it out on your own. And that's dope that you learned that you were resilient. Like you probably were resilient here, but to go somewhere else where if you don't make it, it's up to you to make it out. It's like a movie, like one of the movies. Like, if you don't do everything you need to, you're not making it home, and you got to do it in a short period of time. And I think people need to realize it's not, you don't have to go to another country to do that. Is sit down and see what you need to do and go do it. It could be hard, but just go do it, because if you didn't go do it, who knows what could happen? We might not be talking. Anything could have happened. So just force yourself to do the hard stuff, because once you do the hard stuff, that's how you get over that hump. And hard stuff it could be saving $100 for somebody. It could be, like you said, you're on a fast. Listen, I ain't never ever done a fast. So that would be hard, just to stop something, just boom, depending on what it is. But to stop eating, I don't know. I like food. Like, I don't know really like what I would do. Drinking water ain't really cool for me, but that would be hard. If God was like, hey, I need you to do that, I would have to do it. So I like that you got that opportunity and you were able to take students, because that's dope. My daughter, she's graduates Monday. She's going to Spain for like a month. So
congratulations.
Thank you. So that's dope in itself, just seeing kids be able to do stuff we weren't able to.
Yes.
So your educator, was that something that you dreamed of doing? Were you a little kid and like, oh, I want to be a teacher?
I've always had an affection for young people. Like, first of all, I've always been obsessed with Whitney Houston. And I remember being at my little sister's preschool graduation. Hi, April. I remember being at April's preschool graduation, and they marched in to, I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how it used to be. In those lyrics, I was, if she was preschool, so that's 4 or 5 years old, so I was 9 or 10 years old, 11, and it just hit my heart. And from there, April became my first student, I would make worksheets for her, and we would be playing school in the garage. And I'm like, and I would have my little red marker, and I'll be marking up her worksheets and telling her to try this again. And I just listened to Whitney, and I saw my little sister, and then my sisters started having kids, so I became an aunt at 12, and my sister was having them back to back there for a minute. So there were all these young people, and I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at, like I said, I love my mama, my daddy, my older sisters, but they all have their own journeys. They all have their own ways that they need to heal. And so I didn't get what I felt like I needed from them. And I'm like, I want to do, I can't I can't be crying about what they didn't give me and then I'm not giving it to the next ones. So, and it just wasn't about them, my sister and my nephews and my niece. It became just about children in general. So at first I wanted to be a child psychologist because I spent a lot of time in pain. I developed a sleeping pill habit when I was in middle school, and a lot of people don't know. Most people don't know. I developed a sleeping pill habit when I was in middle school because I was so depressed, and so I'll just take a couple Tylenol PMs to put myself to sleep. So at the same time, I knew that I was depressed. I knew that I was very sad. I didn't love my life. And I wished that I had a therapist or a psychologist, somebody who could help me think differently about my life. I had enough awareness to know that how I was thinking about my life was not how I should be thinking about my life. So I wanted to be a child psychologist. So I actually applied to IU for for psychology, and then I ended up getting there was a scholarship opportunity for teachers of color, and I needed that money. So I switched my major. I was like, I can be a teacher. And I'm like, if I'm an English teacher, I'm still doing the same thing. Like I'm still, as an English teacher, I pick what books they're reading, I pick what they're writing about, and I'm having conversations with them. And the parents don't have to choose to bring them to me. They got to bring them to me. Like I'm going to have a class full of kids whose hearts and minds I can impact. So that's where, and I was an English teacher for 7 years over here on the east side most of the time.
Yeah, that's dope because a lot of teachers I've been in education like 6 years. And a lot of them like they really wanted to be a teacher and really was doing like the lady that was in my classroom that I work with, the co-teacher. She was like, yeah, as a kid she wanted to school. Me, no, never, never thought I'd be an educator. But the crazy thing, I always like helping kids, even as a kid. Like I would help my friends. That just was me. And then that's just how I got into education. So I always like to hear people's journey into education because everybody's is different. Like I graduated with a 1.7, two-time college dropout. Teaching wasn't anything in my radar, but God was like, you need to do that. And I understood why, because being a teacher, you got structure. And like you said, you can come up with your own lessons to teach your kids because like Black History Month and them talking about Black people in schools is like a foreign language. Right. And it's like, okay, I want to make sure that the kids in my class know about their history or stuff. Let's do something different. I always think outside the box because I feel like the schools talk about the same five Black people. Right. Okay, we know Frederick Douglass, we know Martin, we know Rosa. But it's like, you want to be able to teach the kids something different. And then it's also good to have people that look like them in the schools because I don't remember. Did you have a lot of teachers? I didn't. I did not. I went to East Ridge over in Warren Township. I didn't have her, but we had a teacher, Miss Johnson. She was the only Black teacher I remember in the whole school. She was a fourth grade teacher, and I remember that I did not have her. And I would see who had her, and I would be jealous. Yeah. Of the kids who had her as their teacher. I think I didn't. Middle school is when I first Miss what was her name? Miss Williams. This lady was the meanest lady. No, I'm like as being a teacher and thinking about what she like. Say if you come into class and you was musty. Ooh, girl, you musty. Oh no, yeah, that's the wrong kind of mean. Sister girl, you ashy. Come over here. Like she would call you out in front of people, and it's like I remember her, and then I remember my gym teacher, and then we had a principal. But yeah, we didn't have a lot of Black people back then as teachers. Now more days we do. So I got a question. I have a question for you first. Did you go to school? Oh no, I went to school in Michigan City. In Michigan City. Yeah. So I don't know if it happened there, but I know here in Indianapolis in 1976, the federal government had to order Indianapolis to desegregate its schools. So busing started in the mid 70s where they had to force Black children, and what they did was close down the Black schools, a lot of the Black schools, the historically Black schools that you had teachers with master's degrees and doctorates who were teachers of addicts.
teaching and pouring into this next generation of black leadership. And you had hundreds of black principals and teachers lose their jobs, and black children were being bussed out to Decatur, bussed out to these districts where they were not wanted. And it was a very violent and abusive situation. So Indianapolis actually used to have a lot of black teachers and black educators, high quality black educators who had been degreed and certified in this thing. But when that desegregation happened, it ruined that just for the black educators in the city. So one of the things I tell people is the desegregation order had a negative impact on education here in Indianapolis when it comes to black children.
That's crazy. I never really looked into the overall realm of education, but that is crazy. So my question is, now where it's 2023, right? Do you think teacher, like the way that, when we were in school, you had to dress a certain way, you had to talk a certain way. Do you think that way works still?
Yes, I believe that there's some traditions that need to come back, um, because you can't be complaining about how this generation is, and this generation is this generation, but then we're not doing what our elders was doing. So we're the elders now, and we're not taking the position of elders, but we sitting back complaining about what the next generation is or is not doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That actually makes no sense to me. So there should be some structure. There should be a specific way of dress where you could tell the adult from the child. I do believe that. I do believe, like, I mean, I ran a whole school for 5 years, and I didn't have a lot of, nobody had a dress code, but I dressed a certain way.
Yeah.
And so then it was my job to show the women and the men that even I'm not going to force you or tell you how to dress. I'm not going to pick your clothes out for you. But there's a certain dignity that you should hold in this position. There's a certain reverence that you should have in this position. When people walk in, they should be able to distinguish the children from who's leading the children. The way that we speak, they should be able to distinguish the children from who's leading the children. If we're blending in with the kids, then who's leading whom is the question.
Yeah. So I agree with everything except for the dressing. Because I feel like that takes away from certain people wanting to be a teacher. Or because I don't like to dress up. I don't like no tie, no.
Why is that?
I'm just not comfortable.
Why are you not comfortable with it?
Just because I never really liked.
Do you want to be where you've always never been, or do you want to be somewhere that you've never yet been?
And I get where you're going. But it's the thing. Eric Thomas, he's a speaker. It's different people that speak. That's what I want to do. It's different people that have pocket. They dress how they want, and they get in the rooms that they want, that they need to be in. So I don't think the way that you dress. I feel like I heard this older guy. He was like, "Yeah, you got to put on a suit and dress nice for it." And this is his exact words for the white people and even for us. And I'm like, "No, you don't."
Okay, no, we're not dressing nice for the white people.
And I'm not saying it like that, but I just feel like if I'm comfortable, if I can come and you turn me down because I didn't wear a suit or I didn't dress nice, but what I bring to the table can impact the kids and take them to the next level, I feel like that's not fair because I don't dress a certain way or I already don't look a certain way. So I want to be as comfortable as I can. So if I feel like anybody that does something, you should be comfortable with what you're not saying you come in sweats and flip-flops as a teacher, but just to at least look decent and not look like you just woke up out the bed and still do your job. Now, if you're a horrible teacher and you just come in dressing any old way, you late every day and all that, and I get that. So it's two different ways with it.
I'll say as a leader, as somebody who is hired and fired, all kind of people. I was the queen of hiring and terminating. And I've terminated friends. I've terminated family. Yeah. I'm going to tell you there's patterns from a leadership standpoint. There's definitely patterns, but there's a few things that I want to point out. You kept saying comfortable. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you there's no growth in comfort. There's absolutely no growth in comfort. So if you are doing what makes you comfortable, if you're saying what makes you comfortable, if you're living a way that you're comfortable with, then you are not growing. So you got to do things that you're uncomfortable with. And then I'll also say that there's something about being distinguished. There's nothing like, a comfortable black man is one thing. Like with my husband, now when I got with my husband, when I first saw him, he was in his work clothes. I didn't judge him. Obviously, he's my husband, so I was attracted to him. But when my husband put on a suit, it's a whole other situation. It is a whole. He has a different energy. He speaks differently. He has a different stature. I mean, it's just different. He was very averse to putting on that stuff too. Like now, he just let me dress him up like a Ken doll because he's experiencing a difference in himself. But there's this for me before I started. Well, I always would get dressed. My mama would get dressed every day. My mom she still works at the VA hospital. And when she was in the basement of the VA hospital, my mom was getting dressed. I don't care. And when we go to church on Sunday, my mama getting dressed. And it's this attitude. She didn't have no high school diploma, but that woman walk around like the vice president of the United States at minimum when she put those clothes on. It's something about how people respond to you. It's about the energy that you elicit. So when I get dressed with intentionality. Do I want to wear glasses or do I want to wear contacts? What do I want them to think of me? I want them to see me as an intellect. I'm gonna put my glasses on. How do I want my hair? Well, I want my hair out of my face because I love my face. I want them to see my face. So I'm gonna have my face showing to them. I'm gonna have my hair up for that reason. What kind of shirt am I gonna put on? I'm gonna put on a shirt with a message, a clear message. Love yourself. But what kind of pants am I put on? I'm a little bloated. So I need to, so I think about these things. But I know that when people lay eyes on me, they immediately have an impression of me, and I want their impression to be love. I want their impression to be self-love, and like she loves herself and she loves me. I want you to smell me. I want you to hear me. I want you to feel me. I want you to see me. Now the other sense, only one person got access to that, but the other ones you get, and it needs to be positive. It needs to be uplifting. Yeah. So that's what I say about getting dressed. It's not about getting dressed for anybody else. It's about getting dressed for you and the energy and the intention that you want to set in that room. So what do you want to give? This is my cousin. We real comfortable together. That's my dog. We could lay back and kick it. Or I better tighten up. I better tighten up when he's around.
And I get what you're saying. I still ain't gonna wear no suit.
When you put a suit on one day, I'm gonna heart the picture.
I've wore a suit. My daughter had like a debutante thing. For my wedding, I was married before. For prom, and I think maybe as a shorty for something. I don't know. It just not comfortable. A suit coat's not comfortable. I wear everything under the suit, but just a suit coat not comfortable.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So, but I get what you're saying of dressing because I do dress different. I want to go to different events where I do kind of got to dress up because it is like a different kind of, you get a different look at you because when I put for graduation I put on a little bow tie. Everybody because I don't really I'm dad mode, but I'm like you though when it comes to outfit. I'm like today what do I want to wear? So I'm like, I want to wear a shirt with the logo on it, but this shirt, I don't have shoes to go exactly with it, so I'm going to just throw something on because I just throw on clothes. But then for the next person, I wanted to wear that for you, but I knew I didn't want to get this shirt too wrinkled. So it's like, so it's different stuff.
You think about it.
Yeah, you think about it of how you present yourself. And I think when I say comfortable as in clothes, I think it's not like comfortable like sweat. It's like something like how you got. When I go to the schools, I always want to have a shirt with a message. I don't never want to go in there looking like a lawyer, and that's not me.
Right.
So I get what you're saying, and that made me, open my eyes to maybe want to get dressed up a little bit more, but not too much. But
it makes sense. So you don't got to be in there like Malcolm X.
Yeah.
But the boys need to see a difference between you and them.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be showing the young men and women where they're going. Mm-hmm. Like if we show them where y'all are at, then I mean, where we going?
But then you gotta think about the times that we're in. You don't gotta go to school. You could sit behind this computer and make all the money. So it's I get where you're with the tradition of how men and women are supposed to look, but I think times are different to where you still gotta show them how to dress up, but then it's like let them be comfortable because it's like church. Some of them old school churches. You got to come in there dressed a certain way or they going to talk about your look. I ain't come here for you. I came here to get a message.
Absolutely.
So it's like those certain places with those traditions don't really work because the young people are not coming in the suit. What if they come, however they come, as long as they come in the building and get the word, then we should allow them in there instead of like, oh, why they don't got this? Or one thing I hate, nobody's been able to answer it. Why men can't wear a hat in the building? I just don't get it. Women can wear a hat anywhere they go, right? And y'all can have a bad hair day. Y'all can put on wigs, weave, scarves. It's cool. But if we was to go out, if I was to go into church with this hat on, they gonna tell me to take it off. Why?
Well, there's a scripture. There is a scripture, so you have to argue with the Word of God about that. And I'm not one to argue with the Word of God, but there is a scripture, and I don't know it specifically. I don't know the verse, but we could Google it. And it said men are not supposed to pray with their heads covered, and women are supposed to pray with their heads covered. So you as the head. Or not, so I mean that's the Word of God. So if you want to argue with the Word of God,
that's praying though.
And I, at this point in my life, I'm praying without ceasing. I prayed the whole way here. I prayed while you were setting up. I was praying. I prayed without ceasing. And so I found ways. Like I tell myself, like this. I got these braids in. I got this on top of my head. My head is covered. Like I find ways to say, like, well, my head is covered, but I'm not a hat person. But being obedient to the Word of God is not ever going to be comfortable. Like there ain't nothing about it fun. Ain't nothing about it comfortable. I say this about my.
I need somebody to break that down. That I get what you're saying.
Pray it. You ask God. Ain't no somebody. That's between you and God. Like you take those things to God directly, and then you gotta allow God to break your heart down. Because there's some things our ego, like I do. I prayed vigorously today over our egos. And being with my husband, like I'm understanding the strength of a male ego, especially a man who has been abandoned, a man who has been hurt, a man who has been abused, a man who's been in toxic relationships, a man who's been let down. That ego and that pride is big and strong. And it takes a lot. So you got to take that straight to God, because nobody will ever be able to have a conversation with you about that. But there's some things it's just about humbling yourself before God. You're not humbling yourself before nobody else but God. So if God tell you to put it on or take it off, you put it on and you take it off to show God that I'm obedient to you. And what I love about my church, New Beginnings Fellowship Church, 21st German Church Road, come find us, 9 a.m., 11 a.m. I love that church. You come as you are, however you are in there. Me and my husband and my family, we get dressed with intention. We do, because I want to show up and show out for Jesus. I want to show up and show out for God. Like, if I'm going to get dressed to go on a date with my husband, if I'm going to get dressed to go to a concert or whatever and be mindful about what I'm putting on, I'm definitely going to put on my Sunday best, literally, for God. And so we're very intentional about that. But that's a personal relationship thing.
Yeah, so definitely gotta I'm gonna talk to God about that, because I just feel, and it not even so we could take outside of the church, but even in the building they'll tell you to take off a hat, and it's like I don't understand that, because I've worked somewhere, I've literally seen a woman wear a hat all day long. I wore my hat after hours, kids on the bus, and somebody had to.
And see what they did with that bruised your ego, and you see that's what you're mad about.
No. What I'm saying is, she went through the whole day.
You're not a woman. Like, don't ever compare yourself to a woman, because you're not a woman.
I get that, but it's the hat thing. Like I went outside, put the kids on the bus, came back in. I'm like, kids gone. But somebody pointed that out, and I'm like, how can somebody else wear something on their head and nobody says anything? And I don't know if that
you are set apart. Sometimes it's an I'm set apart thing. People expect different. People expect more of me. It's something about the head. It's something about your head. It's something about you. It's something about the wisdom that you carry that you are blocking. It's something about the divine relationship that you have with God that you are blocking. And that was the person that God sent to tell you to unblock that. Unblock your crown. You know, like uncover your crown. God sent that person to say that. And you sitting over here focused on them.
What if we have y'all have bad hair day and y'all can block? What? I don't
have a
don't
have a bad hair day. Brush your hair. Lay it down. You a black man. Yeah. You can brush your hair.
So it's different. It's different because I was supposed to get a haircut yesterday, right? And some of my barbers, she couldn't make it, and she was like, "Oh, I could do it this morning." I was like, "I ain't got enough time." So I knew I had to throw a hat on because I'm gonna be on camera. And my mom and my sister talk about me. And if I came on here without a haircut and just brushed it, no, they gonna talk. So I put the hat on. Oh wait, the light. Oh, God. Can you do me a favor and hit that light? I don't know what,
right.
We in here, we didn't took the light out the room.
Right, I know that's right.
So I don't want to, like not having a haircut. I just threw a hat on because I know I'm going to be on camera. Somebody could watch this on their TV on YouTube, and it's like I got to look presentable even though I don't. So I'm
just stand on it. Just stand on, you got a hat on. You have a hat on, and it's fine. You have a hat on, it's fine. If you feel when you're feeling, you working through a conviction right now, and with the conversation you have with me, you gotta have a conversation with God because it's rooted in something. You just work. You feeling convicted about something that you are working through, and you take that right to God. And stand on your decision. If you decide to wear a hat today, wear your hat. If somebody says something to you and it pricks you, just know that came from God. Because no human, no man has the ability to prick your heart like that. And whoever said that to you is still sticking with you for a reason. There's something that you need to sit and meditate on and pray about when it comes to that. And even if it's just about a little bit of obstinance that you might have in you where you don't like people telling you what to do. Yeah. And where you want to go, you're going to have to be able to be coached and advised and managed. Yeah. You know, I mean, like LeBron got a coach and a manager.
Yeah, I'm coachable. I listen. I think it's just my approach. Like, cause you could be telling me something, my face gonna say something else, but I'm actually listening. And then when we done, I'm gonna go do what you told me to. But sometimes it just people take that the wrong way. But I always listen. And I understood you gotta be coachable. Cause I told my son this. His attitude is trash. Like so.
Bless his heart. Let's rephrase that. We're working through.
Yeah, we're working. I'm gonna say that. Working, but it's horrible. So no, it's like it really and he gets. I think it's somewhere in our gene because I used to be like that. So I told him I was like, your attitude, like you can play, but if I was your coach and I'm your dad, I wouldn't play you because your attitude. You have to and it was like we were saying earlier. Understand you're not gonna make every shot. You're not gonna make every pass ain't gonna be perfect. Every thing that your teammate do ain't gonna be perfect. So you gonna make mistakes, things gonna happen, but you gotta have that positive attitude. I was like, you gotta listen to somebody, and that's the same thing with me. Like I might be mad, but I'm listening to like you come like I almost think this like a therapy session. Like skip the audience, you talking to me, and I'm sitting here like, dang, I don't really like her right now, but she cool. Like, but what you're saying is really for me, and I kind of knew that just from seeing like your post and just looking at your stuff. Like I knew the kind of conversation it was gonna be. I didn't know you was gonna be coming at me though. I thought we was gonna be talking to the audience, but. It's because there's people that think like me or have the same questions because I question some stuff and some people can't answer that. So I got a question. No, I'm not even gonna ask that.
Well, let me say this because now it's been giving me to say about your husband first. I mean, not your husband because you was talking about your son made me think of my husband. And it's all about language because words have power. We have the power of life and death is in our tongues. So we're not going to say my husband or your son's attitude is trash or their attitude is horrible. We're going to say they're working through some things. And there's some anger, there's some hurt, there's some resentment, and they need an outlet for those things. And for your son, basketball is a safe place for him to put his anger, for him to put that aggression. And what you got to do is help him. So when he has those expressions of anger, you've got to give him an opportunity to actually talk through the things that he's really feeling. Because it ain't got nothing to do with basketball.
Yeah, because I asked him because he said some bad choice words to his buddy, and I was like, "What's going on?" And he was just mad. He didn't want to talk at the moment because it's a gene thing. Like my dad used to have that. And it's like it got lesser with me because my dad used to put his hands on women. I ain't never ever, and I ain't never got to that point where I want to put my hands on a woman. Maybe a dude, but just I don't get that mad as much more. I learned like it's dumb to have that. I'm angry and mad. So me basketball, like I use it as if I'm somebody made me mad, if I'm having a bad day, I'm taking it out on this basketball court. And I'm about to take it out on whoever on this court, but I'm not going out there mad. I'm just releasing it. So, he only 9, so it's just hard.
It's good that you're seeing it now, though. So what my daughter and I are working on is a business. It's a coaching business where we help parents build and rebuild their relationship with their teenage children or adolescent children. It's a whole program that we're developing to work them through to bring them back together. And it's called From Generational Wounds to Generational Wealth. And it's acknowledging that there are wounds that we are still carrying. We talk about epigenetics. I'm telling you, I'm a nerd. And I've had to nerd out because I needed to understand why am I feeling the feelings that I'm feeling. And thinking about genetics, here's a fun fact for you. Your maternal grandmother, your mom's mom, carried you. So when your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, when she was 5 months pregnant with her, your mom had every egg that she will ever have for the rest of her life when she was 5 months in utero. So that means whatever trauma that your grandmother had experienced up to that point or experienced while she was pregnant with your mother, then that was transferred to you. If epigenetically, our genetics are they what's the word? Morph. Let's call it that. Yeah. Our genes, our DNA literally changes when we experience trauma. So whatever trauma your grandmother experienced, your mom carried that and then passed it to you. Whatever trauma your mom experienced, then she carried that and passed it to you. And whatever, if you have sisters,
she passed it to my son.
No, she would no, yeah, whatever. So okay. Whatever your okay. So, but I mean,
oh Lord, so if my sister have a baby, that baby.
Okay, no, but we pray over them.
Yeah.
And what we do,
no, I'm like, just thinking,
you know, and so saying. What we have to do, with me understanding that, there are things like, okay, like I know my grandmother died searching for love. I've heard my mom saying that. I know my mom, I know she's still searching for love in herself and trying to outsource that. I've seen rage, I know my grandmother had deep rage, and I've seen my mom have rage. I've seen my sister have rage. So I had to identify these things that are in me and then find the roots of them and then go to the word. Literally go to the word of God and take that to God. Ask God to reveal to me genetically, how do I heal this, not just for me, but for everybody who came before me and everybody who's coming after me. And then even like my daughter, even though we are not blood related, she is mine and we chose each other lifetimes ago. I know that for certainty. And I know that there are things that as I heal them in myself, I'm healing them for her too. So that she's resetting, no matter, like she chose a whole different path. Yeah. So no matter what the genetics were that she inherited, she has decided she's wiping all that clean. Mm-hmm. She's been renewed and she's going to start fresh. So that's something that you just work on with God instead of talking to your son about it. He's 9. Yeah. His brain won't even be fully developed until he's almost 30 years old. So a lot of what you're telling him ain't going to do nothing no way. You take that to God and you work on it in you. Because even though you're not hitting women, you may internalize your rage in a way where you're doing self-harm. Yeah. There could be habits or practices that you have. Audience, I'm not just going to put this on you. There could be practices, because I know it for myself. There could be practices that we have where we are internalizing our rage and we're doing harm to ourselves. But we're thinking it's better because at least we're not harming somebody else. I'm not fighting. I'm not putting my hands on nobody else. Yeah. But you're doing it to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you work on that in you, and I promise your son. I tell people, your kids are a reflection of you. Yeah. For better or for worse.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. Like my daughter isn't biologically my daughter, but I've been there since she been, I think, first or second grade. Uh-huh. So. And it was crazy when I was with their mom. She would act like me, and she still kind of has traits, but it's like she wants to go to HBCU, right? But just however it happens, she's going to Bloomington first. Mm-hmm. My first thoughts was like, I gotta make sure that she can go to where she wants, because I don't want her to limit herself because her parents didn't have it. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes as parents, we like, oh, I just want you to go to school, go to the free school. Mm-hmm. You still gonna have the same debt if you go to the school in state or out of state. So it's like if you have in your mind that you want to set your child up for a different path. I gave my son an LLC and a business when he was 6. So he can have, so if something happened to me, he can do whatever he wants. Because when my dad passed, all he left was questions. Mm-hmm. Like, who was he? All this different stuff. So when it comes to your kids' audience, and like you just said, work on yourself. Because 5 years ago, well, my son is 9. 9 years ago, my attitude, it was trash. His mama would tell you, I would throw stuff. I'm yelling. I'm cussing. I'm angry. Now it's like, all right, cool. I just laugh it off. Like, some stuff does get me to where I'm up here, but I still don't react like I used to because I worked on it. And it's just, as a parent, you see your child, you're like, dang, was that bad? Did people not want to be around me? Because I promise, when my son played a video game or when he get an attitude in basketball, I'm like, I'm ready to go.
Well, have you given him to God? Is a thing. And like that's We can give our kids LLCs, we can give them businesses and bank accounts, but if we've not gifted them a relationship with God, then we have failed as parents. That's these kids belong to God. These kids are on loan to us, and we've been entrusted. Us in our filthy rags, we've been entrusted with these babies, these angels of God. And even when they acting like little demons, it's a spirit on you. I just said that to my child. Who's the spirit on you? Let me. And I go somewhere and I pray, and it's something on me, because like, if I'm pure, if I know my heart is pure, if I know that I'm right with God, then there ain't no demonic spirit that can even persist around me. I know that, like, my light shines too bright for for that shadow to even exist. So if there's a shadow in this house, if my husband is acting up, if my children are acting up, if whoever is acting up, it is something in me that's giving it permission to even flourish, because otherwise it would be sanitized. So if your son does not know God, that's on you. So you gotta make sure that you know God, and then you gotta introduce your son to God, because he can't take no LLC. LLC ain't gonna take him to heaven.
Okay, we about to end this conversation. You ain't gonna keep talking to me like that. But no, that makes sense, because before I get into like the last little questions, question that I have, I remember when I was dating their mom, and she always was in church, and I grew up in the church, but it's like I don't really like church people. It's just
please come visit me. Please come to New Beginnings on Sunday. Please,
because it's
look at me. Yeah, 11:00. Please do your best. Don't promise me you're gonna come. Just promise you're gonna try to come.
Okay, I will. Because I've been looking to go to church.
I promise I'm gonna try to come.
I'm gonna try to come. Okay. It's out east, right?
Yep. Y'all got a church bus. So yeah, we'll come get you. I promise we will.
So. Okay, well, look, the light came back on. Well, it looks like I'll be a New Beginnings at 11:00 on Sunday, because the light just came back on. Amen. But I remember my daughter was like, when y'all first started, my mom was having us go to church. Now you are, and that helped me understand I was doing right. But as like, I take my son to church, but I do tell him to pray, but I haven't done what you said. So that's something that I definitely need to do. And I'm going to have to rewatch this episode and take my own notes, because you didn't talk to me. She really was talking to y'all, but she was talking to me, and I don't like it. So I don't know. We're going to just, I don't know.
Well, I want you to know I love you. Yeah. And everything that I'm saying is from a place of love.
Yeah, so. And when I have people on, sometimes the conversation is meant for exactly me, or stuff in the conversation that hits me, and I be like, dang. So I'm just joking when I say what I'm saying, but I love everything that you just said throughout this whole podcast. So we talked about a lot. Yeah. Give people because I always ask people to give 3 tips of you just going through it. You going through it, you at that moment, because I feel like you gonna give it a little church with it. So they give us 3 tips of what they can do when they listen to this episode that can help them move the needle.
Oh, okay. All right. So number 1, you going through it, you have to remind yourself that you are not the only person to ever go through it. You got to humble yourself enough to know that we are all to go through it. And I say this about Jesus. And not to be a religious person, but as a fan. More than anything, I'm a fan of Jesus. He's my favorite celebrity. Yeah. Because I don't know anybody who knew anybody who knew anybody who knew anybody who ever laid eyes on him. But we all know his name, and we watch our mouths when we speak about him. You know, and we all know the story about him. Whether you respect the story or believe the story, you watch your mouth. You know, everybody in the whole wide world. There's multiple holidays after him. Time is measured by the moment that Jesus was born. So I like to identify Jesus as my person. So you find your person who you can see. I can see Jesus. So if you can't see Jesus, look at me. If you can't see Jesus, look at me. I have been through it. You name it, I have experienced it, and I still have joy, and I still have peace. And so you have to know that we all go through it, and that does not mean that you are any less deserving of love or grace. When you're going through it, you are actually growing through it, and you are being shown the level of the strength that you have. Your faith will continue to be tested, and whether that's faith in God or faith in yourself or faith in the vision that you have, all of that will continue to be tested. And if it's not real, if you're not willing to fight for it. Nothing is real if you're not willing to fight for it. I believe those are three things right there.
Yeah.
Nothing is real if you're not willing to fight for it. Nothing is going to come easy. Your relationship, you're going to have to fight for your relationship every day, multiple times a day. You don't fight with your person, you fight for your relationship. You're going to have to fight to realize that dream that you have. You're going to have to fight to manifest this vision that God has placed on you. You got to fight for your kids. You got to fight for this. You got to fight for your joy. And if you're not willing to fight for it, you don't want it that bad. So those are my three things.
You might as well have dropped the mic. We could probably end the episode right there. All right, I'm serious. Those are three great tips. Yeah, you gotta fight. That just helped me out with something. Fighting for a certain relationship. But man, you sure you don't show them the book? Let's talk about that before we get out of here, and you tell people how they can.
Absolutely. Okay, so first I have this right here. This is what changed my life. This Master Manifester yearly planner. God gave me the vision for this in December of 2021. And it's because like there were some things I knew there were some things in my life that I just needed to bring forward, some things I needed to change. And God woke me up in the middle of the night and I drafted out this planner, and then 2 weeks later I had them printed. And this planner just walks you through visualizing who you are right now, who you desire to be in the next year. And there is, I mean, the planner just has affirmations. I'm gonna give this to you, and you can keep it or you can gift it to whomever you want to
I
gift
probably
it to.
keep. I don't like people like that.
So, like, I turn this page. I normalize luxury for myself because I deserve to feel good too. The next one, I love the body I have, and I have the body I love. Period. I love the body I have, and I have the body I love. Because what other body you gonna have?
You turning the page? Are you? You know what page is?
No, I send
Okay.
positivity to all that I desire, which attracts it all to me. So if there's something that you desire in the world, you don't sit back and just want it. Man, I wish I had this, or be mad at the people who have it. No, you send positive energy to everything that you desire, because that's what's going to attract it to you.
That right there is true. That right there is true.
I have the power within myself to be, do, and have all that I desire. So there's all these affirmations in here. There's even a commitment, like a self-love commitment page where you just write these agreements to yourself. Love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, love does not boast, love is not easily angered, love has no record of wrong, love always protects, love always perseveres. And there's an agreement for each of these. And this is straight out the Bible. Like, this is the biblical definition of love. So then you write yourself an agreement. Not how you gonna love other people, but how you gonna love yourself, how you gonna be patient with yourself, how you gonna be kind to yourself. So even if you don't do anything but go through the affirmations, do that. That's on my website, indiajohnsonspeaks.com. $33. I have given away far more of these than I have sold. I think I've only sold like 5, and I've given away probably 20. Because when God tells me to give it away, I give it away. I would love to make money off of them, though. We would love to have income coming into this household on my behalf. So you can go to indiajohnsonspeaks.com and check out that. And make sure you read the letter at the beginning of it, because it's a love letter specifically to you, the owner of that journal. I have Marisol's Hair, my children's book. I wrote this children's book when I was a reading teacher over here on the east side at Stony Brook Middle School. And I was watching a Disney movie, and I really loved the Disney movie, but I didn't love that the girl's hair was blonde and long and flowed down, and then when they cut it off, it turned brown and lost its magic. I didn't love that. So then I took the story and flipped it on its head. I'm telling you, this right here, kids love this story. Kids love this book. And I wrote it in rhyme because I was a middle school teacher when I wrote it. So I wrote it with a rhyme scheme. I just give you a piece of it. But from a young age, she knew normal she was not. When her hair started growing, it just wouldn't stop. It curled and coiled and reached toward the sun. And it took 10 villagers just to put it in a bun. So it's a story about a little girl who dealt with bullying based on the magical power of her hair. And she ran away and hid because she did not love herself because of how people made her feel about her magical powers. And then she was put in a position where she could have either stepped out and walked in her power or stayed hidden. And she decided to step out and walk in her power. and she was able to save somebody because of that. So you can go to my website, IndiaJusticeSpeaks.com, $10, or I don't know, maybe I keep them in my car. You hit me up on Facebook if you're local in Indianapolis. I can just meet you wherever. I'm telling you, from preschool through 8th grade, this is in classrooms and teachers love it. Teachers use it. So check it out. And then every month, I'm in the Indy Far East magazine every single month. So I'm excited about that.
Far out east to be in that magazine.
I don't know if you have to live far east. I don't know, but you just gotta benefit the far east side, I guess. Okay. So yeah, every month I'm in the magazine and I just write from my heart. So I'm not interviewing people, I'm not selling anything, I'm just writing from my heart. And share a little bit of my testimony, my story, and then also just give some words of inspiration. So that's what I have. And like I said, my daughter and I are working on a parent and teen relationship building course. It's a 12-week course from generational wounds to generational wealth. That'll be dropping soon. I'm really excited about it. Yeah, so that's what I have going on.
Yes, I thank you for this. I love the book. Definitely probably grab that one. Because my son, he struggles with reading, so that could be something we could read. You dope. You're a dope person. It'd be crazy because like a lot of people I don't know or I just meet them or through social media. Then when you get to meet them, like this was a good interview or conversation, not just for the crowd but for myself as well. So I thank you. Thank you for coming last minute too, because I just hit you up the other day, and because I knew I needed to utilize. I wanted to use this space and get in here and see how it works. I think I might have to have you come back. I don't know when I get because didn't have the cameras today, but when I had the cameras, bring you back and have a second conversation because this was definitely dope. I almost didn't want to cut it short, but I know I got somebody else to record after this. Yeah, so I appreciate you and keep doing what you've been doing and keep being great. Uh, let's see. I'm trying to think. I always say give a closing word. I feel like church, so I guess that'll fit for now. Give us, something that somebody could take in. No, give us a quote. I need a quote because I always ask for a quote. So it could be your quote you live by, whatever, and then just give us something small to close out.
Well, first thing that came to my mind is I believe it's Romans 8:28. I might be wrong. I'm not a Bible scholar. I just love the Word of God. I say that. All things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And in order to love the Lord, you do not have to be perfect. Yep. You don't got to live no kind of right. Honestly, everybody starts somewhere. You could be living all the way wrong in somebody else's eyes. But as long as you love the Lord and you know that you are called according to his purpose, then everything that happens in your life is going to work for the good of you. And on that note, keep being great. Have a great day.